my God. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Oliver, let me just start by saying you killing the whole vibe. You just killing it.
I was about to say Tolliver is probably the coolest person that we have met today.
Oh my God.
And the microphone and the sound. I mean, come on.
It's great.
Know, I do what I must.
Pushing through to the end of this day, and you just gave us, a lift.
Yeah.
I do absolutely love that. I know y'all been talking to people all day, so it's an honor, y'all taking some time to talk to me. I almost wore this like sort of fur number in the back, but I thought that was too far.
I would have loved it.
We would all live for it. All
Next time. So going into this second season, obviously the show got a ton of acclaim the first time. Do you sort of feel pressure to sort of outdo what happened the first time around?
I don't feel any pressure going into season 2 to be more dramatic, more dark, more deep, because guess what? It is what it is. I think the more focus for me is just being more authentic to Leslie's voice and being represented in a way where you want to see this family win. And at all costs, Leslie is definitely giving Rue some hard advice, and she's making some hard decisions because she's seeing Gia, her younger daughter, being affected. And I think no family and no mother wants to see both of their kids be destroyed. So I think Leslie is definitely she's going harder in the paint for her family.
Yeah, absolutely. Storm, did you want to jump in on this?
Yeah, no, I think when you have the intention of outdoing something that has already exceeded your expectations, that's when you fail epically. Especially when you are talking about you're talking about a show like Euphoria, which is so precious and it is so fragile and so authentic. I think if we were to have that outlook on it or trying to just make it a show that it will continue to be a cultural phenomenon, as people call it, I think that's when we stop being real, and that's when we stop being reflective of the real world. And that's why people fell in love with the show, because people can see themselves in that. So I'm glad that we did what we did this season, and we stayed true to the story and our characters.
I absolutely love that. And I've seen 5 of the episodes so far, and I completely agree with y'all. It feels like a linear progression, but also obviously things change and grow. So super dope. Colman, I read this. So I was doing research for this. I read this Wall Street Journal article that said one of your first gigs was as an aerial acrobatist. That's not a word, but acrobat.
Acrobat. I was an acrobat. Yes.
So I'm sort of wondering what takes more stamina, being an aerialist or doing something like that capsule episode with you and Zendaya in the diner?
The capsule episode. I feel like being an aerialist, I'm like, yeah, because I was 21 and skinny and I could climb up ropes and do aerial web. That's a whole other thing I need to tell you guys about. You guys, I was in a circus.
I was about to say, huh?
I was in a circus. Now it all makes sense. Everybody. But it takes more stamina, more trust and faith to actually do an episode like that, because it requires sort of like almost like non-performative performance. To actually do the thing that I think, kids you go to acting school for, just like to do all this work to actually listen and respond, to actually trust the text, and to say that there's no bells and whistles. We're not going to do big camera moves or anything. We're actually going to sit with your characters and for you to listen and respond and go on a journey together. And to say that what comes out, what arrives by that symbiosis of actors and writing and directing and camera is something kind of magical. It's almost like theater. It's sort of, I refer to it as like theater. It's like a small play, because it's really compact, but it says so much. So it took a lot more. To be honest, I rehearsed it for 40 hours a week for like 3 weeks on my own in my little office. Why? Because it was the pandemic and I had nothing else to do. So I really took myself I was going to do it anyway, but I took myself on a very rigorous rehearsal process, because you just wanted to actually get it in your bones. So you're not thinking about it. I didn't want to feel like I was thinking about lines or thinking about doing something. I just wanted to be present with Z and Sam and Marcel and the rest of our crew and just see what that thing that John Patrick Shanley always says, leaving room for the divine to reside. So, you know what I mean? To just let that be and trust that is and get out of the way as an artist.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, certainly watching it, you wonder as a lay person, you're like, how much work goes into that? Because you can tell, it feels very free when you're watching it. Obviously, you don't want it to sort of look like work, but you got
to work it so it feels free. You got to work it so it feels natural again.
Yeah. Nika, I know you and Zendaya have that sort of famous scene where, you improvise the fight, which I didn't know, which is, wild to me watching that back now. As your relationship grows, obviously with Sam and the rest of the cast, do you find yourself sort of improvising more and more? I also know you're a comic.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Shout out to the Groundlings. That was my first class I took when I came to LA, and it's all about sketch comedy and improv. And the great thing is it was in my tool set. I was able to pull that out and put some of those things into action, because you never know when you're going to use these things that you've been studying for years and years and years. And so when Sam say, hey, you guys have a fight, and I'm like, about what? He's like, I don't know, figure it out. And so you definitely have to go into that resume, like, hey, let me pull this off the resume and put it into action, because that's why we hone our craft. That's why we study and spend the money for the classes, because you never know when you're going to use it. And thank God Z is so amazing to work with, and she trusts me, and we built that trust. But it was definitely something that continued for season 2, and bringing Gia in the mix, like, it's definitely like, all right, you want some smoke, let's get it, like, 2 against 1, it's whatever, and so I was happy that Sam allowed us to continue that trajectory of us just being authentic to the characters and really telling the story of this tumultuous, horrible addiction that's ravishing our family.
Yeah, it's super powerful. And then you're right, we do see some fights between Storm and Zendaya this season. Right. Storm, I wanted to ask you, so you said we're going to be seeing a lot more of you this season, which I'm super excited about, getting yourself an episode in there, like doing the history of everybody. How excited are you to bring more of Gia's story to audiences, and how did you sort of prep for that?
Yeah, I mean, I think Gia's progression in season 2 has been very natural, and Gia still has those quiet moments where we see her, but she's not really saying anything, or she's not saying much, but we know what she's thinking. And I think I'm just excited to see the little bit of growth that we do see in Gia from season 1. I think she was really kind of, just peeking around the corner, being the observer. Of course, we would see her being emotional about the situations that were going on in the household. But I think in season 2, she's more vocal about how she feels, and she's more cognizant that her sister, she can't help her sister like she thought she would be able to. And she's also a young, growing, developing human who has to take care of herself and start to formulate opinions on her own. So I think I'm just really excited for people to see a little bit more of her and learn who she is and how she feels about the things that go on in her life. Excuse me.
Yeah, I think we're all super excited too. I think the season 1 wrapped, and we were like, we got to know more. You know what I'm saying? That is my time. I actually went over a little bit. I really appreciate you all taking the time to talk to me.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
The fur.
Yes,
Next time the fur. Just the fur, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.